Hello children. Today we'll be doing the reading, explanation and poetic devices of the poem Wind written by Subramanya Bharati. Now children, before we read the poem, I want you to get familiar with the lexical items you'll find in the poem. Okay? So scatter, throw in different directions. Now you can see farmers scattering seeds in the fields. Okay, poking fun, making fun of. We should never poke fun at weak people. Crumbling, breaking or falling apart. Like you can see, cookies crumbling. You can see houses crumbling. You can see, in this poem you'll find crumbling lives and crumbling hearts. Now, crumbling lives could mean frustrated hearts, and crumbling hearts are, breaking hearts, very sad and not strong. Rafters, you'll find in the houses in villages, sloping beams which support a roof. And winnow, this action also you'll find in the villages where the farmers separate grain from husk by blowing on it. So that action is called winnowing. Steadfast, firm and unwavering. Now when you want to stand for some truth, you have to be steadfast. Flourish, grow or develop. Now these are the words you'll find in the poem. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain. You're very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's joint the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Now in the first four lines, the poet is talking to the wind as if it were a small child. Now it's like making an appeal or pleading with the wind to blow gently so that it does not cause any havoc or destruction. He appeals to the powerful gusts of the wind not to break the shutters of the windows or scatter the papers, or not to bring the books down from the shelf. Okay, and not to throw things in a disarray. Now you can see the repetition of the word don't. That tells us how the poet is trying to make endless pleas to the wind not to do some things. Now in the next three lines, the poet's tone changes from pleading to accusation. He tells, there, look what you did. You threw them all down. So you see what the wind did? It tore the pages of the books, it brought rain, and also he says that you are very clever at poking fun at the weaklings. What does that mean? He sadly tells that the wind can tear down the doors, the rafters, or entire wooden houses altogether. It rips apart the exterior protection, exposing people to the harsh world outside, and leaves a trail of disaster behind. When it is very windy, we all can witness, sometimes you stand in the balcony of your homes and you can see when it rains very heavily and there's a, strong wind blowing, you can see what a lot of destruction it causes. So that's what the poet is trying to highlight here. The wind ridicules the weak objects and will not hesitate to crush them under its mighty power. Be it weak, withering buildings or weak and cowardly human hearts, all will fall prey to the destructive forces of the wind. So whatever prayer or pleading or whatever we ask for, it falls on the deaf ears, as the wind God is nature's filtering process in place. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Now, as I told you, winnows is separating the wheat from the husk. Now, what does the wind god winnow now? Now, you see, the poet is talking about frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. So here, what can be separated from what now? Maybe the stronger houses will stay, the stronger people will remain, those who are strong at heart with steadfast hearts, those people will remain. And the wind god will separate the weak from the strong. So we understand what are weak houses and doors and rafters, children. But what is crumbling lives? Now, crumbling lives is frustrated lives, and crumbling hearts are those weak, broken hearts which cannot bear any kind of adversities, who generally, succumb or fail to live up to the pressures of life. So the poet here cautions the readers. What he tells over here, he won't do what you tell him. Who? The wind god won't do what we ask him to do. So what he's asking the people to do? So let's build strong homes. Let's joint the doors firmly and let us make our bodies firm. So we have to strengthen ourselves to meet the challenges head on. Otherwise, like if we are weak, then we will crumble and perish when problems and difficulties come to our door. If we make ourselves stronger, then life will be a pleasant journey, and then we'll be able to take the challenges in our stride. Like strong buildings, how they can bear any kind of weather. In the same way, we too will be strong to take on any kind of pressures, trials, and tribulations in this life. So if we do this, maybe the wind will be friends with us. The poet here tells the wind blows out weak fires, he makes strong fires roar and flourish. What does that mean now? He means that how hardships only break down and destroy the weak, like how the wind blows out the weak fire, and just like how a strong fire is rekindled and grows stronger and bigger as the wind blows. So in the same way, the brave and strong, they befriend adversities, problems, and emerge stronger. Thus, the wind can nurture that which is already strong. The only way to survive is to accept the challenges, face them with courage, and be fearless. Wind as a force can be very useful if we befriend it. I think we all understand that, isn't it? Wind can be very useful. You see, when wind is harnessed, a lot of energy is produced. So, it is a good friend to make us live a happy life, and very comfortable we are if we harness wind, by providing us with electricity and all that. So it becomes our friend. But otherwise, if you take wind as the challenges and trials and tribulations of life, if we treat these problems also as our friends, then we emerge strong. But if we are scared and if we are worried, oh my God, what is this? So many problems. What happens then? We lose. We become all the more weaker. And just as the wind says, it blows out. So in this world, we cannot survive if we are afraid to face the challenges of life. Now, the poetic devices used in the poem are imagery, metaphor, symbolism, anaphora, personification, repetition, and alliteration. Now, let's check the poetic devices used in these lines. The first is imagery. Now, we have a lot of visual imagery here when we are, when we try to visualize the force of the wind and how the papers are scattered and how the books are thrown off the shelf, and you can see crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters. All these can give us imagery. And also you can have auditory imagery when you are actually talking about the shutters of the windows broken. the sound, the auditory. So that is one. And then the next is the metaphor. Metaphor, is an implied comparison between two things. So here the poet is comparing the wind and its destructive assault on the weaklings. So you can see the whole thing as a metaphor. And then you have symbolism. Symbolism because the wind here symbolizes the adversities and challenges of life. All right, children. And then you have the repetition of the word don't in these three lines here. And then you have the repetition of the word you. You can see this. So when words are repeated like this in consecutive sentences, it is called anaphora. And then next it is personification. Now you can see how the poet is talking to the wind. He's telling the wind, don't do this, don't do that. You are actually talking to human beings this way. So here the wind is personified. The wind is personified over here. So he's asking the wind to come softly, and he's saying, don't do this, don't do that. And then he says, you did this, you brought rain, you are very clever, and all those things. And then you have repetition. You have the repetition of the word crumbling. At so many places you can see the repetition of crumbling. That is one. And then, okay, we'll see in the next lines. In these lines, you can see alliteration. You've got wind, winnows, you have won't and what, and then you have wind and weak, then fire and flourish. I think somewhere else also you will find something. So alliteration is easy, children, the repetition of a consonant sound in adjacent words. Now if it is the repetition of a vowel sound in adjacent words, then it becomes an assonance. So here we have alliteration. So this is how you find alliteration, and I think with this we come to the end of poetic devices. I'm sure you've understood how to find poetic devices in this poem. So dear children, the only way to protect ourselves against the destructive power of the wind is to build strong bodies and steadfast hearts. We should be strong enough to face the challenges of life. So whatever it may be and whatever the situation may be, we should be strong in mind and body. So with this we come to the end of the reading, explanation and poetic devices of the poem Wind. Thank you and have a good day.